Welcome to Showboys, a podcast that delves into the world of film and TV. Hosts Nick, Mike, and Coty take their water cooler talk from the office to the web as they discuss their favorite movies, shows, and all other content in between. In this episode, the boys discuss their favorite blue-tinted, money-laundering family from Chicago as they attempt to escape the clutches of a Mexican drug cartel. So, what's Ozark? So what's Ozark? In case you've been living under a rock and aren't aware of the Netflix original series, we can definitely fill you in. We're gonna have our very first series overview episode, this episode here. And I don't know, maybe at the end of the episode, you guys want to give our recommendations on whether or not you should watch Ozark?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we'll probably just look at Rotten Tomatoes and suggest that.
So we'll just start off, touching on what Ozark is, and then I know we each brought some topics and points that we want to kind of go over that are a little more specific and detailed. But Ozark aired in 2017. It's ran for 3 seasons so far. It's been renewed for a 4th and final season. I was reading on Variety.com. They said this 4th season will be the last, and it will be 14 episodes and split into 2 7-episode parts.
The 2-parter finale.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, Coty, is this going to be a money heist, Casa de Papel, season 4A part 1?
Yeah, /2 2.0.
Yeah.
We're going to split that into a 3-part final episode finale.
Yeah. But mainly here, Ozark, the general synopsis of the show is we follow financial advisor Marty Bird and his family as he flees. I don't know if running would be the right descriptor here, but he moves his family from Chicago to the Ozarks in Missouri to launder money for the Mexican drug cartel.
That's basically a vacation, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's what everyone wants to do. Vacation.
Yeah, putting Ozarks on the map. Actually, low key, after watching the show, I was like, maybe going on vacation to the Ozarks might be kind of interesting. Kind of go around, see where maybe some parts of the show are filmed or whatever.
Joke's on you, not filmed in the Ozarks.
Are you sure? Really?
Yeah. They only filmed 5 minutes of the show actually in the Ozarks. They filmed it in Georgia.
Dang, bro.
Yeah, so you got baited.
I know. Jeez. Wasn't Walking Dead filmed in Georgia too? I feel like.
Pretty much everything is. I'm pretty sure Georgia has a film subsidy or credit that makes it cheap to film everything there.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
and that's a good climate.
Not actually in the Ozarks.
Yeah, if you want a sweaty, outdoorsy environment, just go to Georgia, I guess.
I mean, it worked. I guess you didn't realize it wasn't the Ozarks, so mission accomplished.
True. Big true.
Yeah, now I feel like I don't even know what the Ozarks look like anymore.
Yeah, what is life? I don't even know.
I mean, I too. Well, I did read that the show increased like people going there a little bit, but did not like increase money from like tourism and stuff. Yeah.
Mm.
So I don't know how
they're
that works. You have more people just like freeloading, like just checking it out, like, oh, this
yeah.
looks nothing like the show because it wasn't filmed here.
Yeah, they're probably suckers like me who's like, oh, let's go check it out, and then realized, because someone like Coty, and then they're like, I'm not going to spend any money. I'm going home.
Yeah, instead of like a flyover state, it's just like a drive-through city.
Yeah.
You just like look and you're like, yeah, I'm not stopping there. Instead of all the beautiful scenery, it's just like the meth portions that we see on the show.
Oh, ouch. Yeah. But yeah, so that's kind of the general storyline. It's pretty highly regarded. I was looking at some of the different scores on IMDb. It scores an 8.4 out of 10, and on Rotten Tomato, it's got an 81%. So pretty consistently, thought of as a good show, which I would have to agree. And it's created by, I'm probably going to botch this, Bill Debouquet and Mark Williams. Probably mispronounced the poor Bill's last name there. And directed by Jason Bateman and a handful of other people. But yeah, the show is quite a step away from Jason Bateman's normal material, wouldn't you say?
Yes, yeah, but it's still, I don't know, it's like him just like really, really wound up.
Yeah. Actually, I was talking to a friend who was over at the house the other day, and now that I think about it, like his mannerisms and honestly the character of Marty Byrde himself is almost the same as all of Jason Bateman's other characters. It's just like you plucked him out of the typical like rom-com or like dark comedy type, stuff that he normally is in, and then like dropped him into like this super bleak and dark drama. Because he's still running around with his quippy one-liners and like
Right. It's him under
sarcastic.
like extreme stress and pressure, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a darker version of his character in Arrested Development. It's the same level of comedy, but instead of being like the good guy cleaning up after his family, he's like the worst guy getting his family in a lot of shit.
Yeah. I actually have my own little fan theory that Marty Byrde is actually just his character from Arrested Development, like 20 years later, picking up the family business.
Well, there's money in the banana stand.
That's right, dude. Ah, geez. What a show. It's got quite a cast lineup here. We got Jason Bateman, obviously, as the lead Marty Byrde, and then his wife Wendy Byrde is played by Laura Linney, who I feel like I never really saw in anything prior to Ozarks, but she like really kills it and knocks it out of the park. Her character is fantastic, and Julia Garner, who is making a name for herself as Ruth Langmore. I think overall the cast is pretty great. A lot of the supporting characters are acted and written very well, and I just think all around it's got a really solid lineup.
It's definitely a show that has gotten better with time. Not that, it wasn't good to start off with, because it was good to start off with, but it's just that I didn't have high expectations or any expectations for any of the characters, really. Maybe outside of Jason Bateman, because he's very well known. But like all the supporting characters just continuously have good arcs. They're very well acted out, and I don't think I expected that out of that show.
Yeah, if you want to go back to Julia Garner, she's actually in The Americans, and she does an awesome job in that. And her character is very much different in this one, but still great. So I enjoyed seeing her again out of a show that I really enjoyed. So it was, I think, a recommendation from last time, The Americans, but she is great in this as well.
I really love her character, Ruth. Like,
Her combination of shit, fuck, and the other combinations of swear words is just
yeah,
well
she's
applied.
she's definitely making up some new ones. That's for sure.
Yeah, she doesn't know shit about fuck.
She doesn't know shit about fuck.
Classic now, so meme worthy.
Yeah, but I would tend to agree, Nick, that the character arcs in this show are done really well, and I think that's one of the things that kind of draws me towards like series over movies is it allows time for character development like that, so you can have like deep story arcs for supporting characters, without feeling like you have to fit an entire plot of a movie or story in like a 2-hour window. You have like, this is 3 seasons long, so that's what, like 30 episodes that you get to really like build the world and tell these different stories through these different characters and stuff.
I mean, I think that's what makes really good series is when they capitalize on all that time to build multiple character arcs. Because like a movie usually just focuses on maybe 1, 2 character arcs, and sometimes those aren't even that dynamic. Whereas like a series, obviously the good ones have multiple character arcs, just kind of weaving themselves together, continuously being good. And this show definitely does that, to where you're not just sitting there thinking, oh yeah, Jason Bateman's character is really well done. Everyone else is kind of hovering around him. They really do seem to all kind of orbit each other as the show kind of goes on.
Yeah, I feel like they do a good job too of like moving the main plot of the series along using other characters than just Marty Bird. As you get further, I guess we should have a spoiler warning now. Just if you've never seen any of Ozark and you plan to watch it, go watch it and then come back, or be warned. We're going to talk about some story details and stuff, so don't get mad at us. But with that being said, I think it does a really good job of moving the main story along, with some of the supporting characters really like stepping into the spotlight and being the ones to drive the plot forward. It's like season 3, Laura Linney's character, Wendy, really is kind of in the driver's seat for the majority of the season, with the move she's making with Navarro and with Helen and stuff. Wouldn't you agree, Coty? Or
I do agree. Actually, I did want to say, do you think that it moves the story along in a natural way, though? Because a lot of the reviews I've seen talk about kind of the outrageous plot points that kind of like force the story along, and I just want to see if you agreed with that, or if you think it's more natural, and that through this character development you're talking about, that it all kind of blends seamlessly in pushing the story along.
do you have like a specific example?
I think they were just, it's not my example. It's kind of some of the reviews that I was reading. I don't necessarily agree with it either, but I think they were just saying some of the plot points are unrealistic and kind of outrageous, all in order to kind of push the main storyline along.
Yeah.
So without anything specific in mind, just like generally, do you think it does a good job of blending it seamlessly together in a natural way, or?
I think as much as it can in a show about laundering money for a cartel,
Yeah.
I mean, based on season 3, they bring this, they kind of break, I think they break the fourth wall a little bit in a very abstract way with season 3, in that they acknowledge how absurd it is, what is going on in the show, if that makes sense.
I will say one storyline that kind of came out of left field for me was Wendy's brother Ben coming out of nowhere. Like, I think she may have mentioned her brother like
Never.
One time in like a passing scene to their son, or somebody mentioned something about their son like growing up to be like Wendy's brother or something. But like, I mean, granted, I haven't, watched through the entire series recently, so my memory is a little foggy. But as far as I remember, I feel like that's the only time maybe that Ben was ever mentioned. And then out of nowhere, he just shows up in season 3 and kind of plays a big part in how the season ends up ending and stuff. So to answer your question, I could see that, and I kind of felt that with Ben's storyline. But all the other stuff, I feel like, with Wendy's past doing, campaigning and her work in politics kind of, plays along with what they're trying to do and how they used her as a tool to, get the casino up and going and like all these other things that happened in the story. I don't know. What do you think, Nick?
I think in the context of the show, I don't see that as a problem. I would agree that there are some just maybe out of left field plot points that just kind of like pop up and they just have to deal with it immediately, or like, it instantly throws a wrench on the direction of the show. But I think within the context overall of how that show is structured, it's not a problem. And it's really kind of like a driving factor, because right when you think things are kind of like moving along smoothly with this one plot point or arc that they just got over, this like ridiculous thing just like inserts itself, and then Marty just goes from, okay to no longer okay again, or whoever it might be.
Yeah.
I think it's fair. I think it's fair within the context of the show. So I wouldn't agree that it's an issue with the show.
I think that's right. I think, from the premise of it, it's about, this dude money laundering for the cartel, and everything that happens after that is just kind of equally as absurd. So I don't think I've ever taken it so seriously that the plot points have been, so absurd themselves that it bothers me. It kind of fits within the confines of what I expect out of the show. And then kind of going back to the Arrested Development thing, it's like all the hijinks I would expect to happen to Jason Bateman anyway. So it's kind of like par for the course. And so nothing really stands out as being like so crazy that I don't believe it, because I'm just like, yeah, Jason Bateman, that would happen to him.
Yeah, true. I mean, I feel like when you're in the business of laundering money for a drug lord, absurdity is, bound to follow. So
yeah, I feel like there's got to be some like down days in drug smuggling, but we're just skipping ahead to the good stuff. We're just fast forwarding through the boring days and just going straight to the heart of it.
Yeah, I will say, maybe another example of super random use of characters to stir up some sort of drama is maybe Wyatt falling in love with Darlene randomly.
Skip it.
It's like, really?
That was one of the more obscene, not obscene, obscure kind of like absurd
too.
Yeah, it was obscene too, but it's like that was definitely inserted to really just stir the pot. And I think that's what happens in that show. Like these characters and like things that happen just kind of stir this existing ecosystem of plot going on. So that's why I think it is kind of natural how it happens, because you're like, oh, of course, like those two jerk off characters are going to do that.
But also like it kind of in that world makes a little bit of sense though, because if you think about it, Wyatt is just a lost young man. His father, what? Yeah, no.
His father did show up in like season 2, but it was his uncle.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That died.
So losing the father figures in his life, and then Darlene seeing it as an opening to kind of like,
she need a new man in the house.
Well, that, and I think she sees it as a play to like
the first one.
To like, so if I bring Wyatt into the picture, maybe that makes things weird for Ruth, which will then make things weird for Marty, and maybe I can like throw a wrench in what they're doing type thing. Like I think she's just kind of using Wyatt as a tool.
I mean, sure, but I mean, see, that's how that fits in. That fits in with her character. Like she's a little batshit, so she's gonna do literally anything to.
Absolutely terrifying character.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Like-
her and her husband, you know, from like season 1 and 2, and he was in there's the Netflix show right now called Cursed. It's new, and he was in that, and he's like this kind of like priest guy when they're just like purging the witches or whatever. But
I think I've seen the first episode of that. Now that you're saying that, he's like some crazy like paladin, like
he's the main. He is like, and I'm watching it, and I'm like, what was he in? And like, he had these, like, the way he talks, and just like the demeanor of just his terrifying tone. I'm like, where have I felt this before? I'm like, oh yeah, he's that guy in Ozark who is equally scary.
Yeah,
but only outdone by his wife.
Right.
I don't know.
She's
That entire situation. I mean, I agree that she is using Wyatt, and that's like the whole point of it. But my God, that entire scene. And the entire idea behind
I had to
like to skip forward.
Yeah, you know those like eye wash sinks and like labs and stuff, and like science class. Yeah, I needed to go find one of those.
You just can't be unseen.
Yeah.
Every time they go to them now, I'm just like.
I feel like they addressed how awkward that was for the watcher in some scenes. So like when they're out on the field and like the workers are kind of like looking at them like, are they together? And they're like, yes. You know, as the viewer, we're all like, yeah, they are together. If you didn't see that part of the episode.
It's awkward for everyone.
Yeah.
Let me lean in through the fourth wall and be like, yeah, they're fucking.
I can't remember. Did Ruth find out about it or like notice the situation?
I don't recall if she found out like specifically what happened, but
yeah, I know.
She definitely knows that they're like living together and in some super weird relationship.
Wyatt's brother observed the activity and then went over there and put it all together, and he was like, this is fucked up. And then I'm pretty sure that's how that went down. And then she was obviously, her natural reaction was like, what the shit? And
Typical Ruth.
But didn't she end the season by going to work for her? Or join up with her in some way?
I don't remember. She, again, like I haven't watched season 3, you know, in its entirety for several months. No, I've watched it all. I haven't.
Cancel the episode. Recently. Mike lied. He hasn't seen it.
Yeah, I've actually never seen Ozark. But I rewatched episode 9 of season 3 last night, my favorite episode of the season. And she, you know, did go over to Darlene's house. So, Nick, were you saying she does actually go and start working with Darlene?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they explore that whole concept of her going from like what the shit Wyatt to, at the same time, she was kind of like greatly put off by Marty and Wendy because of how they handled that whole situation with her getting her shit kicked in by I forget the city, those like mobsters that run the construction company.
Oh, the Kansas City dudes.
Yeah. Like she was upset with how they handled that situation, so she was jaded around that. And at the same time, you got
plus her boy Ben.
Yeah. See, it's such a messy you know, it's all just kind of woven together, and I think that's what's good about it.
Yeah, for sure. Before we go in like any further into any like specific talking points that we had, do you guys have any like predictions of what might happen in the final season?
Way to steal my talking point.
Oh, was that one of it?
Yeah, rip.
Sorry, bro.
That one off. No, that's fine. Let's do it here.
Scratch it off. But no, for real, do you guys have any idea what might happen?
No clue.
Go ahead, Nick.
No clue.
Yeah,
I,
I've been trying not to. Sorry, Nick. I've been trying not to guess. I kind of like the suspense of it. Like, I try not to watch movie trailers before it comes out, just so everything's new and a surprise to me. And so the only thing I really read about it was that Jason Bateman already has something in mind for the ending and how he wants it all to tie together. But I tried to avoid anybody else's guesses just so that I can watch it new and not have any expectations going into it.
Let's earmark that for our next point. I love that he has an idea of how this is ending and where it's going into the last season. But yeah, I literally I have no idea what's going to happen. I mean, I think we kind of explored this a little bit in what we were just talking about how the show's kind of a little unpredictable. And the way that season 3 ended, with a literal bang, really was shocking, and I didn't really see that coming. So I literally have no idea what to expect from season 4.
I feel like that's good because, I mean, you are kind of one to sit there and be like, oh, I know what's going to happen next. At least more so than I am. I always sit there kind of like a newborn child. I just don't even acknowledge anything beyond what's in front of my face.
Ozark's not airing. It doesn't exist.
Right. I'm like, this is a whole new world every time. Who are these characters?
Yeah.
Nick, do you have an idea of where you want it to go? Like, do you have something in your mind? Do you want this to have a happy ending for them, or
I
do you
want
think everyone's going to end up dead, or what?
I want to have like a really shit ending for half the characters and then an okay ending for the other half.
Which half?
Depends on how you split them up. I feel like maybe it would be cool if maybe that's like a character favorite, like if Ruth just like kind of somehow squeezed her way out on top, kind of like a Game of Thrones thing, because it is kind of getting that way to where people are getting snuffed out, and definitely who is in control shifts. Like Mike was mentioning, how like Wendy was kind of like the main driver for a season and a half now, I feel like.
Yeah. I could see Ruth really I could see Ruth's character arc ending in two ways. Either it ends like she gets just whacked and poor Ruth rip, or I could also see her like if she decides to stay on Darlene's side and like work for her, I could kind of see her like overtaking that whole operation and like balling out and like really succeeding, because she learned a lot under Marty, and Marty trusted her with a lot of the responsibilities of the laundering with the casino and stuff. So I think she has the mind to do that and the smarts to do that, and she doesn't really have any other options, So if she doesn't, bite the dust, I really see her as like in her world view, like winning out and like becoming a real person of power and running something. You know what I mean?
It's gonna end with her sitting on that couch at her trailer park, looking at the lake.
Yeah.
He's actually going to win the Game of Thrones. I don't know. I agree with Mike's points, but I think that it's probably more likely that she ends up getting killed or has to flee just because while she has the smarts for it and she has the experience now, she does not have the personality for it. She's like pissed off everybody in the show at one point or another, if not all of them at the same time. Like she just explodes on everybody and she's like constantly tormenting that one dude.
Yeah. That's why I want it to end that way for her though, because she's like, I feel so bad for Ruth. She's just constantly being stepped on and kind of like overlooked and downplayed. So I think it'd be like a real vindication for her to be like, yeah, well, look at me now.
Yeah, that would be a sweet end to her character arc from nothing to something. If she can get her anger under control, the rest of her personality and skill set's pretty good, actually.
What do you have any thoughts on what's going to happen, Coty? Or like what you'd like to see?
Depends on the day. sometimes I'm like, man, I hope Marty figures it all out and just kind of like outwits everybody like he, has been. Like he wits himself into trouble, but then wits himself back out of it. And, you kind of want a happy ending for him and his family and his, kids and all that stuff. But at the same time, I feel like the story would be better if it was just a little bit darker and either him or his wife, ended up dying at the end.
Yeah,
I feel like
Sorry,
if it was a happy ending for him, or at least like he came out, on top or whatever, I think it would have to be very damaging in the process, as if like one of his kids died or like Wendy dies or something like that. I just don't see that family making it out intact, or if they completely do.
Yeah, there has to be punishment for his actions because I mean he's not like the good guy in the story really. He
Yeah.
knowingly and willingly started working for the mob, and again he's been getting himself into these situations. He's not like the innocent guy who got caught up in trouble. He was like the guy breaking the law who got obviously caught up in trouble. So there has to be some type of punishment for his character kind of screwing up and getting him and his family into this spot to begin with.
Yeah, I just don't see how it could be possible for like a good happy ending for Marty. Like he's way too in over his head. That like how could it possibly work out for him?
Well, that's a good point. It's they're the main umbrella here is the Mexican drug cartel. So like, how do you remove yourself?
Yeah,
Obviously,
how
from
do
that
you escape
situation?
that?
And I mean, that's the whole point of the show is like, how do you
Yeah.
escape that? So do you? What's the message gonna be?
I don't know,
Now you
man.
just take over the cartel.
So that's the thing. Like, season 4, part 2 is going to be in Mexico. Like, he's gonna go down there and just take over.
I mean, that's where season 3 ended. So maybe he just never comes back.
Man,
Yeah, it's gonna be a joint season with Narcos.
yes.
Mexico, season
Okay.
4.
Yeah.
It was our crossover.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good idea. Well,
Pitch it to
we have to
Netflix.
do
We'll
it.
see what they say.
We have to do a show episode on that once Mike watches all of Narcos.
Yeah.
Get watching.
I guess I need to get started.
Yeah, quite a bit to catch up on. Totally worth it though.
Yeah, I would really hate to see something happen to the bird children because they've like
Right.
in the beginning they were kind of like annoying, but like as each season has progressed, like they're both great like characters and they're like totally all in on board with the family business and like I don't know. They've really grown on me, so I'd really hate to see something happen.
Jonah's a hustler, dude.
Dude, he is.
He has a great arc overall.
Yeah. And the daughter really was the one that was like, okay, this character is pretty lame, to like season 3 being like, okay, I see you.
Meanwhile, her younger brother's just like taking shit over.
Yeah, just like flying his little drone around, like spying on the cartel war and the Kansas City mob dudes and
I mean, and the money laundering that he was doing, and I think that was
Yeah.
an earlier season, but just like money laundering it, like I don't know how old he is in the show, like 12.
Yeah. Well, that came up in episode 9 when they're like, so episode 9 of season 3 is the episode where Wendy has to like try to save her brother Ben, and they kind of go on a little road trip. But they're like, they have Wendy and Marty and the kids have their little like family meeting where they're like, why don't we just leave? Like we can just get out of here like we were gonna do before. And Jonah's like, yeah, I mean, I got all those shell companies and can use the money from that. And I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. This dude's just been like skimming, bro.
Steady plotting.
Yeah.
Everyone else is like in dealing with stupid shit, and he's just like, what? We got a business to run.
Yeah. Apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Just gonna bail them all out. He's like, look, I got millions. We can get out of here.
Yeah. Man. But yeah, to answer the original question, man, I have no idea what's gonna happen, and I'm excited to see where this ends up going.
Do we know when the new season comes out?
2021. It's like
Of
fall.
course. I guess that did just come out this spring, didn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Corona's kind of ruining filming for it. I don't think it's supposed to even start filming until like the end of this year.
Come on, Georgia, get your shit together.
Yeah. But so like what Cody was saying about, you know, Jason Bateman having a plan and an end in mind, kind of makes me think about what we were chatting about in the last episode about how like series, like the sweet spot for a series seems to be like anywhere from 3 to 5-ish seasons, and that kind of really how do I say, um I don't know, it kind of gives the creators um a lot more power or direction, I guess, or like ability to execute if they go in with a game plan of like, all right, we're going to make this show 3 seasons. I know the exact story that I want to tell, you know, so every scene is going to be meaningful. All of these character arcs are going to be meaningful, and it's all going to lead to one like set, you know, ending. And you eliminate the whole just dragging plots or characters or story arcs like out for needlessly long times just to like, well, and now we're in season 11, what are we going to do with side character 42?
Yeah, it gives them a destination, you know, a target to hit. So they're less likely to kind of be shooting the shit on some filler episodes. And I read the same thing too. I didn't know until recently that they were going to do a final, you know, a fourth and final season. And I was like, okay, good. You know, because like we talked about on the last episode, shows that have that shorter season cycle just seem to be better. Or at least they, you know, they stamp themselves in place for what they are and they don't drag on forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about the flip side of that though? Because I know I've seen a lot about Netflix canceling shows after 2 seasons, or in this case 4 seasons. But do you think that might limit the director's outlook and vision for stories if they know that Netflix isn't going to let it run longer than 4 seasons, pretty much no matter what? But they're going to tell them, hey, just wrap it up and go. You're going to run into like a Game of Thrones issue. Not that happened in Game of Thrones, but the story getting
right.
short.
I guess it would depend on like when they decide they're going to make the series in Netflix, you know, they're in their negotiations and their contract and stuff. If it's like something that is talked about and like agreed on like up front, like, hey, you know, we'll greenlight your show, we'll give you 3 seasons. I think then that shouldn't really play too big of a part, because at that point, you know, the creator can just be like, well, you know, the story I'm trying to tell is going to be longer than that, so maybe now is not a good time. But you know, it could kind of help lead and direct stories to actually be strong and concise, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But whereas if they like, you know, Bateman goes to Netflix and they're like, yeah, we can do the show Ozark, and like they don't mention anything about run length or anything, and then after season 3 ends, they're like, okay, yeah, we're only going to do this one more season. Then that, I feel like that could play a real problem in the whole situation, because, you know, maybe he was planning on 2 more seasons to tell his entire story. So you could definitely run into those issues where you're rushing and trying to wrap something up that wasn't set up to be finished that early, you know?
Right. I guess I don't know how Netflix does it, but
Same.
like you said, if they only give them like, hey, we'll give you 1 season, prove that it's good and people are going to like it, and then we'll talk about, renewing it further. And then they're like, yeah, we'll give you season 2, but we don't know about anything beyond that. And you're like, well, the story really is, 3 seasons or 4 seasons. and then you're kind of stuck in like doing season 2, but then trying to either wrap up or completely cut out everything that you had planned for season 3 and 4 because Netflix says, point blank, we're just not doing it. So I don't know how much heads up they have on like how long they're going to get.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Me either. It'd be really interesting to find out how all that stuff behind the scenes works.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Netflix's their model, at least for the past 5 years, has been a proving ground. If you can show up in Netflix, they'll give you a shot, and they'll see it through so far with things. And I think if you want to end it or if you want to keep going and it works for them, I feel like they're less likely to be against it than another streaming service that has way higher expectations, if that makes sense.
Nick, do you know any series offhand that's went longer than 4 seasons recently? I think Stranger Things might be coming up on it, like 5 now, maybe.
That's
Yeah.
that's a Netflix original.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to think on that, but I feel like, but this is so new that I feel like they've only really been doing this for 5 years when it comes to like that, AAA quality production, movies, series, and all that. I mean, I might be undershooting that, but I feel like it's still young enough to where it's hard to get that selection. But they do have talks when it comes to things like The Witcher. Like they said that they would do 20 seasons of that if it made sense. So I think if the show creators and the money all make sense, I think they would do a show as long as they possibly could. Because I don't see why not if it all kind of worked for them.
That's fair. I watched Marco Polo on Netflix. I don't know if you guys watch it.
First
It's
half
pretty good. It's pretty good, and I know they spent a lot of money on it, and they weren't really getting that money back because it wasn't getting a lot of viewership. But I thought it was a good series, and they ended that after I want to say season 2.
Yeah, that was early.
It was like not a natural ending to it at all, and I was pretty disappointed.
And that was early too, though. That was 3 or 4 years ago, right? That they started that, maybe even further back. That might have been like 2015.
I was still in law school then. It wasn't 4K though, which kind of gives me some type of timeline on it. So probably it was 2015 or 2016.
Yeah, I think the next kind of like 5 years will kind of prove that through. They're gonna find their niche, or they're just gonna like push everything out that they can until something like really clicks. So I just don't think they've had the time or the right opportunity to see something to, a 15 season type thing.
I think they would allow it. I was just looking while you guys were chatting, and it looks like the Netflix originals started in 2013 with House of Cards being like the first or one of the first.
Really?
Probably not a great example, but
how many seasons of that were there?
I think 6 at least.
Mm-hmm. And it would have gone longer.
Yeah, so who knows? Maybe if Kevin Spacey wasn't, acting a fool.
Is that what they call it?
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they call it a lot worse things. But yeah, who knows? I mean, that show was a hit, and maybe if Kevin Spacey wasn't doing Kevin Spacey things, that show might still be going. I don't know.
What about Narcos? That's 4 seasons, right?
Yeah, 4.
And they're gonna do a 5th.
Yeah, as far as I know. I don't know if they've officially renewed it or not, but there's absolutely no reason for them not to. It's a huge show.
It's huge. It's good, and they have a lot of content they can cover. So I feel like that has potential to be at least like 10 seasons.
I don't know how much money it costs them to produce it, though. I know that's one of the things that they really kind of look at is, time, money, effort, and what kind of return they're getting on it. Because it seems like they're going for more shows that are good, but not too many shows that are great but cost a lot of money.
Yeah, they don't want to fall into the Game of Thrones effect either, to where you have 10 of the highest paid TV actors on your roster.
Yeah.
Right. I feel like they're trying to avoid that kind of sinkhole and money pit of just like throwing money at it, because now you have to keep making this very expensive show because it's popular, but the money might not make as much sense when you could be making 10 other shows that would make you more money in return for spending less.
Point. I can see Netflix being a tech giant, if you will. They look at the numbers like that. That is true.
I will say, though, to Cody's point, it's a lot more rare for a show to really be over the 3 or 4 season mark, at least at this point. But yeah, I feel like they've got quite a few shows in their roster that could really, push that limit there, like you guys were just talking about.
It's not often that you want that to happen unless it is that good. Because like you said, they lose their direction. Their point.
Yeah.
Really after that 5-season mark, it gets really tricky to navigate those waters.
Well, I mean, just think about it. Like, if you break it down, like, let's just use eight episodes for a season.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking like at 4 seasons, and we'll just do. Seems like, wouldn't you say an original on Netflix is about 50, 52 minutes or so an episode? So we'll do 50 minutes an episode, 8 episodes a season for 4 seasons. That's, nearly 27 hours worth of show, of story. So, like, that's a lot of content that you have to be producing and creating at a high level to keep, your fans and audience engaged. So, like, you're a series running, 6, 7, 8, 10 seasons. That's a lot of hours, like, you have to have very strong source material to, in my opinion, to really still be a strong show with that much, runtime. I don't know.
No, I mean that's a good point. And that's like the biggest tragedy with, that people had with Game of Thrones is that it was all there, and it was just kind of like cut short.
Yeah.
So like when you have that source material and don't, I guess they didn't. Did they run out? Coty knows more about that.
Of material?
Well, yeah, because they ran into the whole book issue. So, but
they didn't have the book, but they had all of his notes on it. So I mean, they knew exactly where he was going. The ending to the story has been written. They have access to what he's going for. They just took 4,000 pages of books and condensed it into 10 episodes.
But I think
some stuff was skipped over.
I think also, if you kind of zoom out and look at it, I think that might be why you only see, sitcoms or like comedy type series,
Animated series
that really like have really long run times, because they're not. I mean, they may tell a loose overarching story, but
but if you dive back into your math of that, sitcoms and comedy are like 20 to 30 minutes long.
True. That's another.
They'll have 20 episodes in a season, but they'll run 20 seasons. So, yeah. I'm not saying that they are the equal length, but they are structured differently.
Yeah, and each episode is kind of like its own story. So, I mean, you don't have to try to tie together like 4 years worth of storyline and everything makes sense to get to this like final point,
Or if there is, it's like one long arc that casually happens over the course of many, many seasons instead of 20 arcs just like weaving every episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes me think of Supernatural.
Yeah.
one large arc, but then like 19 million smaller arcs that kind of carry you through the season. And then you get to the last episode and you're like, oh yeah, they were supposed to be doing something.
That's how Gotham is.
Like
And that's those types of shows.
those are the shows that are like the gamers who have to do every single side quest before they complete the main quest line.
That's it. To fight the big bad boss.
Yeah. Oh man. But yeah, that I think, you know, to get back more onto topic of Ozark, I really think four seasons is strong, and that's kind of like right in that wheelhouse of being able to really develop the side characters, you know, really build your world and have some very interesting storylines, but also not overextend and overreach and drag things out unnecessarily. So I'm kind of excited to see what they do here in the last 14 episodes.
Yeah, and that's 4 more episodes in the final season than the 3 preceding it, right?
Yeah, I think they were all 10 episodes, and then yeah, you're right. This one's 14. So
And then split up in the 2 different parts. So it's gonna feel like more than what it is. It's really gonna feel like 5 seasons.
yeah,
It's going to be 7 and 7, and there's probably going to be a couple in there that are a healthy hour, if not more.
yeah. They kind of fluctuate, you know, give or take, 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the last couple episodes were over an hour.
Yep. So like I mentioned earlier, last night I rewatched my favorite episode of season 3. And holy cow. I think episode 9 of season 3 might be the best episode of the entire series.
I watched the monologue on YouTube.
The monologue is so good. Ben Davis, what a character. I thought when he was introduced, I thought he would kind of just be a throwaway character, and
So confused.
was pretty confused. Good word to use there. And also kind of like annoyed, because I'm like, what, super random. Where the heck did this guy come from, and what could he possibly do to make this story any better? And oh man,
Delivers.
yeah. So Ben Davis is Wendy's brother, and he suffers from bipolar disorder. And he's played by Tom Pelphrey, and aka Budget Keanu Reeves.
So true.
Netflix
Yeah,
is like,
dude.
we can't get Keanu Reeves.
He's like, oh, what's the great value version of Keanu Reeves? Oh, Tom Pelphrey. No, but I thought in this episode, I mean, I don't suffer from bipolar disorder, and I don't personally know anyone who does. But as someone ignorant to how bipolar disorder actually works in real life, I really thought that his portrayal of somebody suffering from mental illness was very gripping, and really kind of drew me in and was captivating. I don't know, what did you guys think?
Is it bipolar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, something during the time of that, I really enjoyed how that all came about, especially the first half of the season, if not like the first 2/3 of him in the season, were kind of like annoying, or he was just like insert one more problem that everyone has to deal with. But it really did kind of pay off in the last like 3 episodes there. It was definitely worth it. But some of the stuff I was reading, just because I always find this stuff interesting, obviously there's just like some takes on it where they're saying it's like a stereotyped take on bipolar disorder and like what that actually looks like and stuff like that. But at the same time, I think it fits well within the story or the show for what they're going for.
Yeah. It just the way the episode starts out with that monologue, like everything about that scene was amazing. Just like the way it was shot visually. There's a lot of, scenes of just like the scenery as they're driving, and it's Ben with a voiceover just rambling on about all of this like nonsense. It doesn't, like, it literally makes no sense when you enter the episode and you're like, what the heck is he talking about? And then it like cuts to, close-up shots of his face, and while he's talking and rambling, and he's like, fidgeting, his eyes are watering, he's, crying at points, he's like pulling on his beard, he's stuttering and tripping all over his words. The driver is just sitting there. And like, it's just, he's going on and on. I don't remember exactly how long the scene is, but it's several minutes long. And then he just ends it with like, he says, "My day's been going good, man. How's your day been going?" So like,
Perfect.
the entire monologue was him just answering the driver, presumably asking him how it's going.
So good.
Yeah, man, it was great.
Like Nick, I did not like him when he was first introduced. I thought all the scenes were annoying, and he was just like constantly doing stuff to like screw up the plot for everybody else. I was like, man, fuck off, dude.
Yeah.
And then by the time you get to the end of the season, you're captivated by him. Like every time he's on the screen, you're like, all right, what's gonna happen next? What's he gonna say? It was just so good. And I don't think he ended up winning any awards for his performance in this, which is really a shame because he did so good.
Yeah.
I don't think that's up.
It's sorry, go ahead, Nick.
No, I was just gonna say I don't think that's up yet though, because that was just this year.
Really? I thought Jason won an award for Ozark, or maybe that was a previous season.
Look it up.
You're probably right.
Nice.
You're probably right.
I'll look it up.
He's the kind of character that really grows on you, because towards the end you could see that like his intentions were good, and like he just cared about his family, especially in episode 9. Like every 10 minutes he's making a life-altering mistake, like left and right. Wendy is just trying to get him out of the situation and safe. And like at one point she is like, I think it's when they fall asleep in the Walmart parking lot or whatever, before they leave, like, and the cop, like he told somebody or called the cops himself or something after the police leave, and she's like yelling at him and hitting him. She's like, I think she says something about him like he's like trying to be with a toddler, and like as a father of 2 toddlers, like 100% correct. Like no matter what you tell them, like they will not listen. They're just gonna do what their heart is set on. And the sad thing is like his heart was set on trying to make things right for Wendy and the birds. But like every time he tried to fix it, it just like, another shovel in the ground of his own grave, It was
with that and the rest of his family as well. Like everything that he was doing was potentially likely going to get them killed.
Yeah, and like just the entire episode, just watching him like wrestle with that reality of like realizing every time that he messes up, like, man, this is really going to cost something like precious. And just, like he played that episode so good, like so emotional, and oh man, it's just like heartbreaking and heart-wrenching to watch.
Yeah, you felt nothing but bad for him. And like I said, he was a character that I didn't like at all. And then by the end, you're just like, man, I hate everybody else for treating him the way they are.
Yeah.
Like he's obviously screwing it up for you, and I get like they have to get rid of him in some way. But it's like he's trying.
Yeah.
Like he's not the screw up they kind of made him out to be for a long time. Like he is doing his best. His best isn't very good considering their situation, but I don't know. It sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing that really kind of like, to me, kind of like breaks the fourth wall, touches like some really different subject matter there, is that he has a mental disorder. He legit was trying to do things right, but the entire situation that he was in is so wrong that someone with a mental disorder is trying to do something right, but the entire world is not letting him do that because it's so messed up. And like he acknowledges that. I think it's in the opening monologue there where he's like, everything is just so messed up. Like, these people are insane. I'm not insane. They're insane. That they live this life and act like nothing's wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, and that probably does not help his mental state.
No,
Oh, it can't.
because
That's gonna be triggering.
he goes on a bit there where he's like, and that's where his eyes were like watering and he was like really fidgeting. He was like, you can't see my hands right now, but he's like, when you're like this close to like remembering how your mind was before, you lost control of it, and you're like this close and you can't quite grasp it.
Mm.
And that's because nothing is letting him grasp like his correct mental health, because
Yeah.
these people are literally insane for the life they live in this show.
Yeah, it makes him seem like a normal person.
Right.
Yeah, pretty much.
He's trying to be normal, and no one is like responding normally to these things.
Yeah.
Like, people just die, and there's all this just like crazy stuff. And he's like, "What in the fuck is going on? Like, I'm barely in a mental stable spot, and you guys are just kind of roaming around. Like, yeah, all's good. Just chill out, dude." You're like, "Wow, fuck me."
And the consequences of his illness go from being annoying and getting him in, modern trouble, arrested or something, to, like we talked about, getting his family or himself killed. Like it's disproportionate to the level of, acting out or, outburst that he has.
Yeah.
It's not equal to the outburst.
Yeah, because he had that outburst at Helen, and like
Right.
that wasn't that wrong. Like it was a bipolar moment, but he happened to have a bipolar moment at
To like one
lawyer.
of the most terrifying people.
The exact wrong time.
Yeah.
And he's just like, "I'm sorry, like my fault. I apologize." Like, no, that's not gonna cut it, dude. Like, you're dead. Like that bitch will kill you for no reason.
Yeah. Talk about the absolute worst person to do that to. But yeah, it's like you simultaneously like grieve and like really feel bad for what Ben's going through, but then at the same exact time you're like, Ben, please just stop, man. Just stop, please. You're making me so angry. Just stop. But I don't know. I think that's like what makes it so good is because like he can't stop. And I don't know. This episode is just a masterpiece in my opinion. From the opening scene all the way to the very end. I don't know. It was just
And it's one of those episodes where it's not entirely clear what is happening, but you know it's happening at the same time. Like the overall like where this is going, but you're not sure how these things are coming together.
Yeah, one of the things that I wrote down because I took notes like a nerd, was like my first watch through the first time, as the season was released. It wasn't really, I didn't really pay any attention to like what Wendy's intention was with taking Ben on the road. And as I watched it this time, I started to wonder like what exactly was her plan, and like when did the switch flip to I'm trying to get Ben as far away from this as possible and to somewhere safe, to the point of no return. And I don't think that the end result of the episode was her intention the entire time, but I think probably the breaking point for Wendy was when they stop at the gas station and he like secretly buys the phone after she like destroyed his last one for calling Helen. I think at that point she's like, okay, there's nothing I can do, which is such an impossible situation to think about going through. Like, do I risk, my brother continually making things worse for himself and my family, or do I have to literally kill my brother? Like, just imagine having to be in Wendy's position right there.
I think that's some of the allure of the show, and what makes it good is these are kind of like unimaginable situations. There's a lot of shows we watch and we're like, oh, I know what I would do in this like context. Whether, if you're Iron Man, like what would you do? Like you got that figured out. But in this, you're like, I really don't know what the fuck I would do because it's unique and it's messed up.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's not like Ben isn't the only person at risk. Like, they have children and they're working for the cartel who will literally like just kill anyone. Like, so you're not only worried about your brother's life and your life, but like your two small children might also get murdered for this.
It was him or the kids. I think at the end of the day, the decision was pretty easy. Like, once she made the decision, she knew what she had to do, and she's kind of ruthless enough at this point in the series that she, carried it out the way she intended.
Yeah,
but like I said, it was him or the kids, and she made the easy decision.
Side note, did Wendy like seriously jump on board with this whole like money laundering thing like pretty quick when she finally like found out what Marty was doing? I mean, she didn't care. She was like, boom, let's do it. Let's go big or go home.
You mean like in season 1?
Yeah.
Long time
like
ago.
when
I think the leverage was there for Marty because of like what she did.
True. But did she find out after the whole affair thing?
I think that all kind of like came together really quick, like early on.
But regardless, she is all for it now.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, she's all in.
Yeah.
Was that end of season? I think it was end of season 1 or 2, where like after all the political stuff and like
I think that was 2.
They had like the official like opening of the casino boat, and like she was standing there and she's like, yeah, that was the season where Marty's like, yeah, here's my plan to get out of there, and she's like, no, like we're about to like run shit.
Yeah. But yeah, man, this when she like they're sitting at the diner or whatever, looks like Cracker Barrel or what have you, just slamming some pancakes, like just the way that she like looks at Ben while trying to engage in pointless small talk at this point, and with just like the tears in her eyes. It's just Wendy. I mean, Ben knocked this episode out of the park, but Wendy was like right next to him. Laura Linney, like, she destroyed this episode in the best way possible.
The whole season, really.
Yeah, man. Like the end where she's just like losing it in the car on the side of the freeway. It is such a bleak episode. I will say one thing.
It's not even the finale.
Yeah, I know. That's the insane part. One thing I did learn though in this episode is the cartel is conservative. Who would have thought?
Wait, in what way?
In passing, Helen says something about the cartel not being progressive, and they are very much conservative and only caring about money, I'm assuming, and not really caring about Ben's mental health when Marty and Wendy are trying to explain why Ben is doing what he's doing. I just thought that was kind of a little funny passing comment. But yeah, masterpiece of an episode. If it didn't win any awards, what a shame.
Nick, did you get to the bottom of that?
Yeah, I don't think that's out and around. There's a bunch of nominations for some of the award groups for 2020. So I think that'll be coming a little later. But I didn't find anything on him getting specifically nominated for anything.
Yeah, the only thing I found quickly was Ozark actor Tom Pelphrey has broken his silence following his Emmys snub.
Ooh.
Aw.
Lame.
Yeah.
It's because I believe he was in like theater. They must look down upon that.
Yeah, I guess I don't really know how they look at it. Sounds good.
Cancel the Emmys. Let's cancel them.
Well,
Mike's supporting cancel culture.
Well, we got to hand out, 20 director, Emmy awards for the same series. They kind of fill up quick. They don't really have time to look at supporting actors that much.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Still feel bad for him. Deserved.
Yeah. I was kind of surprised that they, like the nominations for where Game of Thrones, like best director, is like four of the nominations are like from Game of Thrones or the same series. I feel like they should like just pick your favorite one of the series. Let's not like just list all the directors for season 8 of whatever show.
Yeah, that link you sent me, I was like cracking up. It's just like Jason Bateman for this episode of Ozark, and then every other one was Game of Thrones.
And it's like, we get it. We like Game of Thrones this year, but let's try to diversify our choices here.
Yeah. Did either of you guys have any other things you want to talk about?
I had one more that kind of follows up on that one.
Sure.
So there's been a lot of fan theories about whether or not he's actually dead. And so I've looked into it a little bit harder, so I kind of have an opinion on it, but I wanted to see what you guys thought first.
I mean, didn't they create him?
Nobody.
They never showed.
Nobody can't 100% believe he's dead.
He's gonna win it all.
The oldest trick in film.
Yeah, if the killing occurs off scene, then it never happened.
Yeah, but I'm going to assume that he didn't make it.
And they're gonna pull a Stranger Things.
He's just gonna show up on like the other side of the lake.
Yeah, and somehow a Russian prison.
Yeah,
I think you're what you read earlier, Coty, about them pulling kind of plot points out of thin air for the sake of plot. That would be their first offense, like true offense, I think, on that front, if they did not actually kill him off.
Yeah, his character totally served its purpose. Like, as much as it sucks that was the end of Ben, like that needs to be the end of Ben.
Nope, agreed. I was gonna say, after looking into it, it looks like the directors agree on that, and they said he's not coming back. So, kind of put it to rest once and for all.
What they would say, though.
I know, that would be the ultimate plot twist, I guess, if they just lied to everybody for a year.
Liars.
But instead of Tom Pelphrey, it's Dave Harbour or whoever that plays.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Hopper.
Yeah, Hopper.
Yeah. No, they actually get Keanu Reeves for the season 4. Like, we increased the budget now. Instead of getting knockoff Keanu Reeves, we got real Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
His twin brother
stepped up to the name brand. Oh man, that's great. No, but I did see that theory floating around while I was doing a little digging on the internet for other stuff.
Yeah, it's always funny to think about, but he had a fitting ending.
Yeah, and I don't think it's the type of show has there really been crazy plot twist of that sort. You know?
No, not really. I mean, it's a lot of drama and hold your breath moments, but not really like uh, you know huge plot twists that completely change the way you look at the episode or the season or anything like that. There's not just like something completely out of left field. They kind of set everything up appropriately, and you can kind of expect what's going to happen next.
Yeah. Most of the plot twists are people dying.
And they stay dead.
Yeah, so I would be shocked, to say the least, that they have a plot twist where somebody is presumed to have been murdered, but actually not murdered. So how crazy would it be if Ben like pulled up and...
At this point, we had some technical difficulties and our recording stopped, so we apologize for the awkward transition here, but let's continue the rest of the episode.
Oh, yeah, welcome
He's
back,
back.
Craig.
Big head.
But yeah, wouldn't that be just a complete shock if Ben just rolls up in whatever the henchman's name is, his black SUV or whatever, and he's like, "Hey, what's up?"
Yeah, or whatever that therapist was driving, which had a Maserati or something.
Oh, dude, that character was amazing. I don't
She
recall
was
her
great.
name, but I love how she was just hustling both of them,
No clue.
both Wendy and Marty. I forgot all about her.
So innocent too.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
She knew what she wanted.
I was
New car.
one thing that that I found interesting about the series as a whole is how it's filmed with like the color correction with the blue tint. Did you guys notice that?
When the whole show,
Yeah,
or
like just the visual presentation of the show, like it's kind of tinted blue.
yeah,
I feel like I didn't.
I didn't notice it, but I can see it
Yeah,
now.
it was totally an intentional thing. I found an article on express.co.uk. They interviewed the director of photography, Ben Cutchins, and he said that the bluish tint was totally an intentional thing that him and Bateman wanted to do. He said, "I think both Jason and I wanted to do something that was unique to Ozark, that created a distinct look." And he kind of wanted to give it a literal darker vibe to kind of, kind of keep the audience on the edge of their seat, kind of like what's kind of lurking out there. He says specifically, "I wanted to draw the audience to be engaged and draw them in. There are movies and shows where you really want to have to shut off your devices and shut off your brain and really have to lean in." So, it was totally like an intended thing, and I found it kind of unique.
That car was a McLaren, and kind of side note, there's this article where it says Ozark fans argue over the single dumbest plot point in the whole show. And basically, that is something people felt that was unnecessary and unbelievable as like a plot point. Her driving that car.
Out of all things, that's what they complained about?
Yep.
Oh, man, that was my favorite part. It's such a one-off character. That
It
didn't
fit
really...
her. Yeah.
Yeah.
One-off
Exactly.
character, one-off like doing just something ridiculous. Like, of course she would pull up in a McLaren. Because she's just hustling them both.
And it set up some great one-liners too. I think he said something about go back to your Transformer.
Yeah. Yeah, good character overall.
Hilarious. The whole scene was great. And no, Mike, I didn't know about the blue tint thing, but I can kind of see it now. Definitely had more muted colors than I guess you would expect for a lot of outside scenery.
Yeah.
So that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
The gloomy lake vibe.
He said that
Yeah.
they used a lot of practical and like... Sorry, I was kind of leaning back in my chair, not realizing that you probably couldn't hear me. But they used a lot of practical and like single source lights whenever possible to kind of even lend more to that to help with color correction and post and stuff. But like I like we talked about last week with Mr. Robot and Sam Esmail, like that attention to detail where like they're trying to think of everything possible to really like draw you in and you know help tell their story.
Yeah, the more you kind of describe that, the more I think about how the lighting is purposely underdone. Like even when you think about like scenes in like the garage when he gets that gaming
Mhm.
thing,
Mm-hmm.
or when they're like walking through the house, there's like there's dark areas of the screen where it does kind of force you to watch a little closer because everything is not well lit.
Yeah.
And gives it an overall ominous feeling to a lot of the scenes.
Yeah, kind of adds just that little extra layer of like subconscious tension. Or like you're not exactly
That's
sure
what I
why
was-
you feel unsettled or like anxious, but you just always do.
Yeah, it's like when you have a score in the background that you just kind of recognize as being dark and sinister, and something bad's going
Mhm.
to happen. So that darker, the blue tint kind of sets up all the scenes that when you're looking at it, you just feel like something bad's going to happen.
Yeah, for sure. It's all in the details, guys.
They're
Yeah.
important.
That pretty much wraps up all the specific things that I had on my list. Nick, do you have any?
I say the last thing I have that we kind of we didn't talk about, but it does. I was wondering for you guys, like, is it? And I have series like this where I specifically at a point in the series I want to go back and watch season 1 because it has a different feel to it, like much so because the characters are so young and new. So like it's just specifically like Ruth's character in season 1 because hers has changed so much. To go back and watch like the early Ruth and like how she interacted like with her uncles and her brothers, it was just such a different show, if you will. I feel similarly about like Vikings, and there's like some other shows, even Game of Thrones, like season 1, where they seem simpler because the plot lines are not developed yet. But it's definitely one of those shows where I want to go back and watch at least season 1 just to like recapture that first initial introduction of everyone.
Yeah, it would be pretty cool to see, like you're saying, just how far each character has come, by the end of the series.
Because I would say Ruth has gotten quieter as the series has gone on. Because I'm pretty sure like in the first season, like she is just mouthy 24/7.
Yeah, I mean, she like almost isn't. No, was it her or her uncles that found the money and then like held up Marty in the whatever like defunct public restroom that he was hiding it in or whatever?
I think they all found it, like the whole crew of them, because they just rolled around and were being goony rednecks, just kind of like rolling around looking for the next score.
Yeah.
She's still pretty mouthy now, though.
Yeah.
I mean, she
No,
got
yeah,
in trouble a few times this season. She's more selectively mouthy, but definitely still is hot-headed.
I mean,
that's a good way to put it. She's selectively hot-headed.
insert the scene with the KC mob pretty boy on the casino boat.
Exactly.
She literally doesn't she like kick him off the top deck or whatever into the lake or something?
That's
Yeah,
like,
isn't that
what'd
right
you do?
before she gets put in the hospital by him?
Yeah.
Because Ben was like, "What'd you do to him?" She's like, "I threw him off top of the boat."
Yeah.
He's like, "I like you."
But yeah, you can definitely see her kind of mature and grow. Definitely from when you first meet her in the first season to where she leaves off. Like she's much more calculating and like she's always been smart, like it was her idea to kind of like let Marty go in the first season and kind of get into his world. And then, yeah, she just quick learner and then, took off. And it's been really cool to see that character arc as the series has gone on.
Definitely going to binge watch the whole thing over again after the final season.
Or maybe it might be a good idea to do it before it comes out. It's been so long.
True.
It feels like.
Yeah, when I first started watching it, I thought it was going to be something more comedic than what it was. So I had completely different expectations and was only like half paying attention to him. Just like, Jason Bateman. I'm sure there's just going to be jokes and like throwaway laugh scenes, and I don't actually have to pay attention to it. And like by episode 2 or 3, I'm like, oh shit, there's actually like stuff going on that I got to pay attention to.
Yeah, the first episode alone, there's like 3 executions and like a dude getting thrown off a skyscraper apartment building.
Yeah, it really changed my outlook on the whole series.
Right from the get-go, he subverted your expectations.
Yeah.
Hey, caught my attention.
Yeah, for sure.
And he writes that. I mean, he directs himself into that role, which is also really cool because he directs like a third of the episodes in the series.
He does.
Yeah, I think he's.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, he does quite a few.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think in season 1 he did like the first 2 and the last 2. So yeah, like a third, 40% of them.
Man, it would be cool too, to go back just to see some of the side characters that haven't made it this far. Like Officer Petty was a great character. Wyatt's uncle was a great character. I don't recall her name off the top of my head, but the lady who worked at the Bluefish or whatever, the restaurant that Marty first gets, she was a great character.
Money in the walls.
Yeah. It's not a banana stand, but it'll do. But there's been quite a few really good side characters, and like it'd be fun to revisit those for sure.
But yeah, that's the last thing I really had that we didn't touch on. Other than that,
yeah, that's pretty much it, except for recommending.
Yeah, so hey, let's do it. What do you guys think? I'll let Coty go first, and then.
Yeah, if it's not clear from everything we've talked about, could not recommend it more. And the good thing is it's only gotten better as the season got along. I'm just looking at the Rotten Tomatoes now, and season 1, 70%, season 2, 76%, season 3, 97%. Dang. So high expectations for season 4. So it's not too late to jump on and start watching.
So if you had to go like as soon as you're done listening to this episode, go turn it on, or like catch it whenever you have a free moment, or like don't bother. You're on the top end of the spectrum, like you need to watch this right now.
Yeah, I would find a time when you have a free Saturday just to like binge out the entire thing all at one time, because that's the way I do it and that's the way I enjoy it. But yeah, it's definitely watch as soon as you can.
What about you, Nick?
Yeah, it's a strong recommend. I would advise cranking out 2 to 3 episodes an evening and finish it in 2 weeks. A little less intense than Coty. But it's definitely that kind of episode or that kind of series to where it's like, because that's how, I watch it when the new season comes out, is I try to do like 2 a night because 1 isn't enough. But I'm also not that dedicated to where I'm going to watch the whole thing in a day. But I take that back. There might have been a couple weekends where we got through like 6 episodes.
So you're like occasionally speed running it.
Yeah, at good pace where it's like that's the thing we're watching until it's done. And it's always a plus because Erin watches it with me. She enjoys it. So that's always another good strong point and recommendation is you can watch it with your significant other.
Mike?
Yeah, I mean, if you couldn't tell, like you were saying, throughout this entire episode how we feel about it, then yeah, I don't know what you've been listening to. Yeah, as soon as you have the ability to watch the show, if you haven't already, or even if you have, rewatch it as soon as possible. It's just one of those shows where it's hard to turn off at the end of an episode. The story is very gripping, and I will say, maybe 1 to 2 episodes at a time, because it can get pretty bleak and dark and stressful.
You gotta embrace it.
Yeah.
Coty embraces the darkness.
Yes, must watch for sure, 100%. So go do it.
And just knowing that it is going to be 4 seasons long and that's it. I feel like these days people do watch shows to like get that notch in their belt, saying like, check, watch that.
Yeah.
Easy one to pick up, get stuck on, but also finish in a reasonable amount of time to move on to the next one.
That's true. You could scratch it off the
Like
backlog,
me and Dexter.
and then it won't take that much time.
It's an easy add to a long list of already,
Yeah.
need to watches. So like just knock this out in a weekend if you're a Coty.
Yeah.
So
Agree.
That's if you're doing it right.
Well, yeah, I guess we got our point across.
that's Ozark.
That's Ozark. So, occasionally we'll be doing episodes like this where we go over a series, or maybe if you enjoyed our chat on episode 9 of season 3, we could really dive into specific episodes of shows. So if that's the type of content that you're interested in hearing and would like to hear more of, just let us know what you might want us to cover and talk about, and we can definitely try to add that to our growing list of things that we would like to talk about. So yeah, thanks for listening, and we will see you next time.
And that's a wrap. Say bye, Craig.
Bye, Craig.
Die, Craig. I forget how to kill Craig.
Call Wendy.